This is the introduction to what I call Stage 2 Recovery, or ODAAT, or One Day at a Time Club. And that's based on my recovery. I've been sober for over 30 years for alcohol and drug abuse, and over 20 years for relationship addiction. My name's Tim, and Tim Ledbetter, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to work out some situations for myself to overcome some addictions and some compulsions, and really learn what the recovery process is all about. The most interesting concept that I believe in is the recovery people. If you've been in AA or Al-Anon or any of the SAs, any of the A's, I guess, they have a part of the steps is practicing these principles in all your affairs. And that was my challenge, and that was my dilemma, and that was what I've worked through. And over the years, I've been able to chat with folks, talk to folks, sponsor folks, and come up with some things I think helps learning how to practice these principles in all our affairs. And now I've decided to put together a website, an interactive website, something that can be used to help somebody with this journey. We call it a One Day at a Time Club. And if you want to go there, you go to ODAAT.co. It's one day at a time.co, which is the website. But as an introduction, I believe that as a human being is developed, and when you're initially created, I like to say that the scientists that have been studying us, they get microscopes to get down to what's the smallest thing in the world and so forth. And right now, the smallest thing they have is they know that in this, the smallest space is what they call no thing. There's nothing, and there's just energy in there. That there is no matter, there is just some energy. And the people that go the biggest with telescopes and things go out in space, and they find the biggest, the black hole, and they find out there's things out in space that have no thing, nothing inside of no matter, and they just have energy. Of course, that's maybe the alpha and the omega, but I like to look at that as the case. That originally, that the life force, the creative force, the energy that puts this life force together is real, and that's where the energy comes for things that want to struggle to stay alive. And every human being, I think, has a life force inside them, and I think that's what started from the very beginning. Religious people call it the breath of God. Other people, scientists, physicists, may call it the God particle. But inside every one of us, I believe, is that energy. And that energy started with no thing, no matter. It was just energy. And then, of course, the egg and the sperm from the male, the mom, the dad were put together, and that gave them the matter. That gave them the entity, the spaceship, if you will, to create a body. And, of course, that's the way it's set up. We have a maleness that is given to us, as our creatures, as human beings are formed, and a femaleness. And it has to have that energy to have life. And I think as you go through the life cycle, it's learning how to harness that energy, learning how to apply that energy. I call that spirituality. I call it my higher power. I call that the God force. And I consider that as the creation of all. It's everything there. It's kind of like, I visualize it like an ocean. There's a big ocean there, and you take a glass and you dip it into that ocean. And in this glass, you have the ocean. You have parts of the ocean, and it's part of it. And when that glass gets done with that amount of ocean that it has, it will go back to the ocean. It will be reclaimed. And that is what the cycle is. The physicalness of us is created on a given day, and it will be die on a given day. That's our spaceship, if you want. I call it just for convenience. And its job is to carry our God particle, or our center of the universe, and that's what that is. That's the knowledge. I call it that our knower. That's the knower, that every single human being has that particle inside them, and that is the energy. That's where all the power comes from. That's where all the energy comes from. Everything else is of the earth, of matter, and it will have its alpha and its omega. It will have its beginning, it will have its end. But the energy of the universe is all existence. So every single human being, in my opinion, has in them something that's always existed. And even when you study the maleness part, like when my dad's sperm was created, that he had to be alive, he had to exist, and he was created, and he passed on that maleness to me. But there was somebody before him, so there was a father that begat a father, that begat a father, that begat a father, and it goes all the way back, because you can't have something created of no thing, and so there had to be maleness. It's the same with the mothering side, the egg that was there, that was created. My mother gave us the egg that was made me, maybe gave me my DNA, gave me who I was, but there was somebody that was involved. There was a mother that created my mom and then begat, and so a mother begat a mother, begat a mother all the way back, and there can be no, you can't create a mother out of no thing. It has to come out of something. So there's always been, so there's a part of me, there's a part of every single human being that's always existed. And the material part is the part that we kind of identify as our life, it's who we are, it's our body. But the spiritual part came from the creation and will go back to creation. And you can't create it and you can't destroy it. It just can change form. And I think that's what people discuss and talk about. There's theologians and philosophers, and everybody struggles with that same thing. But generally speaking, that's the energy part of the universe. That's the part that gives you life, that every single thing, every single element that's ever been created has that life force. And it has that decay or deterioration. Every single thing will actually, as a material thing, will destroy. Even rocks or plants or food or human beings have a different thing. You know, mosquitoes last for 12 days, things like that. Everything has its life cycle, but the energy part of it was taken from the universe, and the energy part will go back when its physical body's done. But that's the way I look at their creation. And I think that's what spiritualists are talking about, is that we have to tap into that energy. Call it higher power, call it God particle, if you will. That's what I had to learn. That's the energy that would help me inside, that would help me uniquely as I am. It will help me be able to take care of myself at another level. And that is what I call the higher power that the spiritualists talk about, or the 12-step recovery people talk about. That we have to find a power greater than ourselves, that we can use that energy in order to do things that we can't seem to do on our own. And I call that recovery. Tapping into that, listening to that, sorting that out, kind of applying it in our life, that's the drama. And that's what this program is all about. So we're going to study how a human being can evaluate where they are, what's going on inside them, and also how to tap into that higher power in order to practice these spiritual principles, or the principles of creation in all our affairs. And that's the introduction to what I call stage 2 recovery, or that's the introduction to how we get well and how we can overcome maybe some of the drama or the dilemmas or the character defects that we were created when we were growing up. How do we identify those defects, and how do we apply this power to give us the energy or the ability to be the kind of person that we want to be? I believe that center power is of God. I think it is of what I call the most important thing of all creation, and that's free will. That when a person has that energy, that they have a choice, they have a free will. I jokingly say, I think I was going to tell God that was a bad idea. He shouldn't have given me that free will, because I don't make good choices. So, but at the end of the day, that's what I had, and at the end of the day, I had to take care of it. So I like to say in my recovery stuff that all of my character defects were set in me when I was young. It probably wasn't my fault that I developed these attitudes, but it is 100% my responsibility to decide what I'm going to do about it. And that's what this series is about, is being able to take these principles of recovery, of how do we learn how to take care of ourselves, and how do we practice these principles in all our affairs.